Warning sign first: if an AI tool, crawler, developer dashboard, or cloud identity service is exposed with default credentials, broad tokens, or weak authentication, treat it as an urgent risk even before you see abuse. The immediate protective action is to patch, rotate any exposed secrets, and restrict access so only trusted users and networks can reach the service. Today's Daily Tech Hack Global Briefing is a defensive awareness report based on recent NVD entries and vendor or GitHub advisory references collected for June 23, 2026. The theme is not one exploit trick. The theme is a pattern. Attackers and fraud operators keep looking for the same weak points that defenders can actually control. Those weak points are exposed admin panels, default keys, unverified identities, overpowered automation, and dependencies that teams forget are running inside business systems. The first advisory is CV 2024-58351. NVD describes it as flowwise before 2.1.4 allows configuration to be injected into chain flow execution through override config, with NVD describing remote code execution, denial of service, server-side request forgery, prompt injection, and data exposure risks. The listed severity is 9.3 CVSS, NVD plus GitHub/vendor advisory reference. For defenders, the important part is not the technical recipe. The important part is the blast radius. AI workflow platforms and low-code automation tools often hold API keys, data source connections, prompts, internal URLs, and workflow logic. If one of these services is reachable from the internet, from a shared development network, or from a browser-integrated workflow, a single configuration weakness can become a data exposure or business interruption. What victims or administrators may see is usually ordinary at first: a strange workflow run, unexpected outbound traffic, a connector behaving as if someone changed its options, or an automation job producing results no one requested. That is why logging matters. Teams should review who can change runtime configuration, which secrets are available to the process, and whether the service is running with permissions that are larger than the workflow needs. Patch to the vendor fixed version, remove public exposure where it is not required, and rotate credentials if logs suggest the service was accessed by an untrusted party. The second advisory is CV 2026-56265. The confirmed NVD summary says, Crawl4AI before 0.8.7 contains an authentication bypass tied to a hard-coded default JWT signing key in its Docker API server, allowing forged authentication tokens when defaults are exposed. The score listed by the collector is 9.3, with references including https://github.com/unclecode/crawl4AI/security/advisories/GHSA-365W-HQF6-VXFG. This is especially relevant to AI and automation because crawler tools, web readers, and agent infrastructure are often deployed quickly for experiments, demos, and internal assistance. A default key or weak authentication setting may feel like a temporary shortcut, but once the service is reachable, it becomes a security boundary. The warning signs are practical. If a Docker service ships with a default token, if a test deployment is left open after a proof of concept, or if an assistant can reach internal URLs without human review, stop and harden it. Use unique secrets, require authentication, place the service behind a trusted gateway, and monitor for abnormal requests. For users and small businesses, the consumer version of this lesson is similar. Do not connect a new AI browser tool, scraper, or productivity extension to sensitive accounts until you know who operates it, what permissions it requests, and how to revoke access. The third advisory is CV 2026-45480. NVD reports, NVD lists a critical Azure Active Directory improper authentication issue that may allow privilege elevation over a network. The listed score is 10.0. Cloud identity and account control issues matter because scams and intrusions often converge around identity. A criminal does not need to break every system if they can take over the account that controls access. For companies, this means conditional access, strong multi-factor authentication, verified recovery channels, and alerting on privilege changes are not optional hygiene. For individuals, it means treat any urgent login prompt, support call, or account recovery request as suspicious until you verify it through the official site or app. The fourth item is CVE 2026-45480. The collected summary is, NVD lists a critical Azure Active Directory improper authentication issue that may allow privilege elevation over a network. This kind of advisory reinforces a basic defensive lesson: user interfaces, marketplaces, plugins, and desktop apps can become powerful attack surfaces when they mix web content with local privileges. Keep apps updated, install plugins only from sources you trust, and avoid granting broad local access to tools that only need a narrow job. Now let's turn this into an action checklist. First, inventory exposed AI, crawler, automation, and developer tools. Look for public dashboards, local services reachable from browsers, Docker APIs, web readers, plugin marketplaces, and cloud admin portals. Second, patch the named products or affected dependencies from the official advisory pages. Third, rotate secrets after any suspected exposure. That includes API keys, OAuth tokens, database passwords, and cloud access keys that were stored in or reachable by the affected service. Fourth, reduce privileges. An assistant that summarizes tickets does not need owner-level cloud access. A crawler that reads public pages does not need internal network reach unless there is a reviewed business reason. For scam awareness, the lesson is just as direct. Deepfake calls, fake support chats, phishing pages, and fraudulent security alerts all try to rush people into granting access. The warning sign is pressure plus permission. Someone wants you to install a tool, approve a login, scan a code, share a recovery code, or connect an app right now. The safe action is to pause, contact the organization through a known official channel, and report the attempt. In the United States, cybercrime can be reported to the FBI IC3, and fraud or scam attempts can be reported to the FTC. Bottom line, the safest AI and cloud teams are not the ones that avoid automation. They are the ones that put boundaries around it. Patch quickly, remove default secrets, verify identity changes, log access, and give every tool the smallest permission set it needs. That turns today's advisory list into a practical defense instead of another headline.